I say all of that, I've been blessed to be able to amass this collection. And my primary motivator was every piece of African artifact that I purchased. I always found that I was searching for a little bit more of identity of myself and my heritage. I started to understand me a little bit more and the people around me because of these artifacts. And simply because it wasn't, because of 400 years of slavery and indenture in the United States of people of African descent, this wasn't taught. And even many people of African descent obviously lost the connection to their culture and heritage and those value systems that made them great peoples of old, so to speak, historically. So, and took away from them that sense of self-worth that all human beings need to have, because that's what makes them productive and makes them strive to do even better and to provide for their families. It's a knowledge of their own self-worth and what they want their children to have. So I've taken on in later life with this museum to be one of the tools that can be utilized to help to restore some of this in society, in particular of the diaspora and of African Americans within the United States who do not have this connectivity, who absolutely need it, because I know it will make them better citizens. I know it will make them better people. And I know it would have to give their children the sense of self-worth and to espouse to do better and to contribute and to know what their real capabilities are. He also very wisely understood that if we could have instilled pride based in ourselves and with the belief that we could accomplish it, we could develop due to our own initiatives, and if we put in the hard work, which is part of his lessons and my mother's lessons to us, we could do anything. And it's because of that knowledge and beliefs of self and knowing that our ancestors did an awful lot to contribute to society and humanity and to innovation and development.
Right.
The message was clearly placed in us that you can accomplish what you will if you put in the work, the hard work, in the study, and also to give us the clear directive that you had no excuse to fail because your ancestors did all of these hard things. So what's your excuse? You have no excuse. You just have to work hard and apply yourself, dream your dreams and follow them, you know, and that was our message, and it sustained us throughout life. And certainly I did encounter prejudice and racism in the New York City school system, and it used to roll off my back just like water does off of a duck. And it didn't faze me at all because I had this self-pride that couldn't be broken. And one of the things I certainly want to accomplish in the museum, the Cultural Museum of African Art, is to instill with all of the youth this sense of self-pride that they can accomplish whatever they will, but they must put in the necessary hard work and study into it. And there are no excuses. And I'm going to give them the evidence and the reasons, rationale to prove that through the artifacts in the museum, over 3,000, dating back over 4,000 years of human evolution. By the artifacts telling them themselves their own stories of creation, endeavor, application, and historic significance. individually
Mm.
of why they should be proud of themselves. And they do have a history. They are somebody. And this message is not just restricted to those of African descent, be they may be the primary focus. It's also inclusive of all ethnicities and races and people. So everyone can get the same message and understand and the respect that comes from that in the respect of humanity itself and each other in order to make this a greater and better world. On a journey that lasted now 51 years, over 3,000 artifacts of some of extraordinary importance and expense, and spanning over all 54 countries of Africa, culminating in traveling all over the world to find these pieces all over the United States, throughout numerous private collections and galleries, and even some pieces I purchased from museums. And also many pieces that came from prestigious auction houses like Sotheby's and Christie reside in my collection. So, and through the development of relationships over many years and cultivated relationships with African royal families, I have some of their prized pieces that they took the leap of faith and believing in me and what my dream was later in life, not early, because when I started collecting at an early age, I had no idea of creating a museum, nor did I think I had any time to do it, because my interest was so wide and my responsibilities so vast that and time was of the essence, but I was a workaholic, so that gave me a little bit of catch-up time. But still, I collected African art because it was part of my education. My strong sense of connection with my father and his teachings, even though he wasn't with me anymore, and belief in myself. And also, I would say the primary thing was I always felt by each piece that I collected, and I studied each piece. I'm a studier. I read, I buy books. They're just as important as pieces to me, but they put more value to the pieces and insight into them. I always felt, and I still feel, with the study of African artifacts and art and the stories they tell and the secrets they hold, because Africa is a society of secrets. It's a country of secret societies. And there's an enormous amount of information to garner and to learn. I've been blessed to put in a position with relationships and so forth to learn so much of this. But by no means will I profess to you that I know everything, because nobody does.
Sure.
And in Africa is such a huge place. If you look at the continent itself and the countries, there's a huge place. There are thousands of ethnic groups in Africa, thousands of dialects. And that's been both the blessing and also the curse of Africa also. If you look at it from a significant genealogical and historical perspective, and as a source of a mass power and force, Africa has not risen to that because of some of these things that's part of Africa's makeup as being the cradle of civilization. When you're just hit with the sheer beauty of these pieces and the technical detail of their creation, you realize that this is something special. You want to know what people made these things. And they certainly couldn't have been people who had no technical abilities. It would be impossible. So, and there belies the lie. and what we need to illuminate, to educate not just Africans and African Americans, because many Africans themselves, because they grew up in cities and everything else in Africa, don't even know their true history, believe it or not. You know, so to bring all people together of all ethnicities, so whether continent, Europe or Asia or wherever you might come from, when you see this, you get a better understanding of the people who did this. And also to realize that through 6, 8, or 7 degrees of separation, you are connected to these people because all humanity came out of Africa. Once you get a semblance of that, you realize without knowing anything that this is important and something I need to know more about. And what you learn is that you have a respect for the people. It's enhanced that created these things. And through that respect and appreciation, you realize that they were human beings just like you. Because what I've observed in all of these years as people have come to, I've done so many gallery shows and exhibitions for very notable institutions and governments, entities, and so on and so forth. What I've always found, each piece speaks differently to each and every different individual. There's something in the pieces that attracts different people for different
reasons.
Yes. So when they tell me that they want to know about this piece, Mr. Edwards, and what could you tell me about it? And I tell them something about the story that led to the creation of this piece and its utilization. Then they say, oh, that must be why. Yeah, there's something that resonated in them in the spirit of the piece that spoke to them as an individual. So, and when I say each person should own a piece of African art, try to find that piece that speaks to you. I guarantee you will, because there are so many different pieces of African art, and they're all different.
Yes.
You know, even though they belong to certain classes and groupings.